MrBeast is the top YouTuber on planet Earth. His videos are really, really watchable, beautifully produced, really entertaining, but now he's got a major problem.
What do you mean? What? I mean, Ben Shapiro is such a fucking algo demon. He has to glaze up MrBeast.
Many people who are sort of outside the YouTube sphere have no idea who MrBeast is, but MrBeast is the single most popular YouTuber on YouTube, meaning he has tens of millions of followers. A huge number of people follow his videos. The entire sort of vibe of his show is that he and some of his friends, sort of the bros, they're constantly going and they are doing things together. It's him and his team of friends. Well, now MrBeast has a problem. MrBeast's problem is that one of his co-stars, his longtime friend Chris Tyson, has decided that he is now a woman. Now, normally, this isn't really a problem, right? You got a friend, your friend decides that they're a woman.
Wait, what? No, it's never a problem. It's only a problem to you and other freaks like you. I don't even understand. You know his ass has to fucking glaze up MrBeast, though, because, again, he's an algorithm demon. So he is going to present this as though it's not him being transphobic, but everyone else is going to be transphobic to Chris. And therefore, MrBeast's business is going to suffer due to this. And that's the reason why MrBeast should fucking turn around and separate forcibly with Chris. That's it. That is literally what he's saying. This is like literally the carbon copy of the Sunny V2 video.
That's a you issue, right? I mean, that's just a question for you in your life. How are you going to handle that? But the problem is for MrBeast that Chris Tyson is actually a member of the cast. Chris Tyson is a person who was part of sort of the bro crew. And now he is saying that he is gender transitioning into becoming a woman. And for people...
No, Chris hasn't even said that. He just said that he's, gender nonconforming. He might down the line, and we will respect that. But, Ben, of course, speaking on issues that he does not understand.
For fans of MrBeast, this sort of changes the dynamic a little bit. Sort of changes the dynamic.
Why?
Right?
Why?
If you are somebody who watches MrBeast regularly and suddenly...
Look, normally, if this wasn't MrBeast, the way that Ben would cover this is literally MrBeast is a pervert for showing a trans person to children. But because it's MrBeast, he has to fucking toe the line because he knows MrBeast will fucking watch this video. So he can't just outwardly be anti-MrBeast. He can't fucking criticize Jimmy aggressively. He's just trying to politely tell Jimmy to sever ties with his fucking childhood friend. The cruelty is so fucked up.
A bunch of bros are interrupted by one guy who is pretending to be or believes that he is a woman. It changes the dynamic in rather stark ways, especially given the fact that Chris Tyson has in the past made sort of transgender jokes about transgenderism. Well,
so is Jimmy. It's very common. I mean, I bet you loved it back then, didn't you? Luckily, a lot of people grew out of it. You in your old ass age decided to lean into it and become worse.
A little while ago, a few months ago, he decided that he was going to begin hormone replacement therapy, and he started looking significantly less masculine on camera and significantly more feminine on camera. Now, listen, if you were running a TV show, which is essentially what MrBeast is doing, if you're running a piece of entertainment, then typically what you do is you cast for roles. Now, on YouTube,
bro, this is a human, okay? This is a human being.
Because it's all about authenticity. Very often they're just sort of your friends. But the reality is the dynamic created is a dynamic that is for the cameras. And so typically speaking, let's say that you are running a show, other than the Umbrella Academy, and one of your stars decided they were a member of the opposite sex. What would you do? Well, you would probably just say, well, you don't get to be in the show anymore because the dynamic of the show has changed. And that
yeah, except these are friends who are just shooting YouTube videos together. So you become this weird parasocial psycho. Dude, how old is Ben Shapiro, bro? Motherfucker is 39 years old, bro. MrBeast. My favorite television show is MrBeast. And now there's someone who is trans. They should stop being friends with the trans person.
That has nothing to do with bigotry. That has to do with the dynamic and success of the show. Not only that, if you were...
Bro really is yo, you should recast your friend. Hey, man. You should really recast your friend. It's kind of fucked up. Why? It's bothering me. Just annoys me that your friend is existing as a trans person on camera. Have you thought about recasting your friend? Okay, thanks.
We're actually friends with somebody. If one of my close friends were on camera with me and they decided to make a radical life shift, they wouldn't expect me to continue to put the success of my career on hold or at risk because they were...
It shouldn't be that way. Why would the success of his career change because there's a trans person on screen? I know why. Because Ben Shapiro is transphobic. That's it.
We're making a personal life decision. In other words, it's not my job to make room for you on this particular show because you've decided to make a life decision that now cuts directly against the entire dynamic of the show. Now, I mentioned the Umbrella Academy a moment ago on Netflix. They've run into serious trouble because the Umbrella Academy started off with Ellen Page, a woman, playing a girl on the show, like a straight woman on the show. And then Ellen Page decided that she was a lesbian. And so they actually added a lesbian storyline in the middle of Umbrella Academy. And then Ellen Page decided that she was Elliot Page, a man. And so then they turned the entire character into a male. And that just doesn't work. I mean, it's ridiculous and it's silly, but that's exactly what is sort of now expected in the entertainment.
Yeah, have you noticed how that's different? Because it's like a fictional show, and even then it like still was fine. Whereas like you're comparing, here's what you're doing, Ben. You're comparing a fictional show off of a comic book rendition on Netflix, a live action rendition, versus like a real human being appearing alongside his friend. And your expectation is that like the dynamic should be different now because like, you know, they are now gender non-conforming. Notice how weird that is? It's only not weird to you because you're a fucking psychotic freakazoid who clearly has never had a friend in general, and certainly not one that was, I guess, maybe gender non-conforming or anything like that, or came out as gay. You know what I mean? It's just very odd.
Entertainment world is that everyone who casts these shows, they have to treat people who completely change their entire identity completely unfireable. Like absolutely unfireable. So all this began again when Chris Tyson started to change his appearance on the show to appear more feminine, and then started tweeting out publicly about the benefits and wonders of gender-affirming healthcare. So Chris Tyson tweeted out, and again, he's changed his entire Twitter profile. So now he has sort of an illustration of himself looking like a woman, although he doesn't look anything like that in real life. He looks like a dude who's wearing some makeup and has some long hair. He says, informed consent, HRT, that'd be hormone replacement therapy, saved me and many others' lives. The hurdles GNC people, gender non-conforming people, have to jump through to get life-saving gender-affirming healthcare.
It's really funny because like Chris goes by any and all pronouns, so like Ben is trying to misgender him and like failing to do so. It's like a bit of an ultimate own. You know what I mean?
In a first world country is wild to me. Just let people make informed decisions about their own bodies. And people started pointing out, well, Chris, you know, when you make life decisions, it actually has impact on other people. See, this is the magnificent narcissism of modern society.
Please tell us more about the magnificent narcissism of modern society as you cut 13 minutes of vitriolic propaganda about a whole-ass grown-ass adult and his own whole-ass grown-ass personal decisions and how that hurts your feelings and how that may or may not actually impact the bottom line of another whole-ass grown-ass adult who has chosen to stand by him. Go ahead. No, Ben, please. Please, I really want to know how you feel about like two people in fucking North Carolina who've known each other for many, many years and how you feel about their relationship now that one has come out as trans. Please tell me how fucking narcissistic it is that Chris is, you know, living their best fucking life. Yeah, Chris is the narcissist here. You're right.
Is that
the worst part about this is that he just plagiarized, like absolutely fucking plagiarized the Sunny V2 video. I'd be so pissed if I was Sunny V2. I'd be like, God damn, I made this fucking video.
Decide that the personal life decisions that make us feel better in the cockles of our heart, these are the things that really matter in life, not our relationships with other people. Not, in Chris Tyson's case, the relationship that he has with his wife and his kid. He has a wife and he has a kid. Let me just express something to you right now. You decide that your feelings of comfort and gender identity are more important than your relationship with your wife and your child. You are being selfish. This is true for everyone. If you're a man and you decide that you're going to cheat on your wife because, listen, it makes you feel better about yourself. You're hitting your 40s and now...
Wait, what? Why are you just like bringing up a... Yeah. Yeah, if you're an adult and you decide to like murder someone, yeah, that would be pretty fucked up as well. Are we just like talking about things that are fucked up and then trying to like subtly compare them to something that's not fucked up? That's so weird.
Now it's time for that midlife crisis and you decide to go get a younger model and take that for a ride. Well, that is you being a bad person. That is you being a narcissist. That is you ignoring the actual priorities of your own life. Life is about what are you...
Yeah. Exactly. Totally unrelated to this issue, though. Hypothetically, what if Chris decided to murder people? What then? Wouldn't that be damaging to the MrBeast franchise? MrBeast should not stand by someone who has murdered people. It's like, but he didn't do that. He didn't do adultery. He's just coming to terms with his gender expression. It's very weird that you compared that. Do you think it's the same as adultery? Do you think it's the same as like leaving your child behind? Why are you saying that? That's very weird.
You're going to sacrifice on behalf of the people who mean the most to you. It is not about you feeling the best you can feel on the interior of you, especially because that's a really subjective feeling and it turns out it's incredibly transitory. Not only is it transitory, when you're telling lies to yourself, it's incredibly damaging. Or telling yourself a lie that you're a member of the opposite sex. And meanwhile, completely destroying, presumably, your relationship with your wife, and also completely confusing your own child. That actually is a bad thing to do. This should not be a controversial statement because, again, this is true for everyone.
Dog, you confuse your child. Fuck you mean? In infinitely more damaging ways than Chris. Trans people exist. Whether Chris is trans or not trans, it doesn't matter. Trans people still exist. You know what I mean? Every child is eventually going to learn about the existence of trans people. Meanwhile, you can be Ben Shapiro and try to, basically bake in that hatred of trans people to your child at an early age so they just like grow up and become another weirdo like Ben Shapiro. Why is bro acting like he's a friend of the family? They don't know you, little bro. I know.
Gay, straight, gender nonconform, whatever you are, your top priority is providing for your child a level of stability and understandability to the world. And to your spouse, your highest commitment is to being the best husband or the best wife to your spouse that you can be. This does not involve you seeking yourself. You seeking yourself is a 1960s, 1970s garbage construct in which your own personal priority.
It's so weird. Like, Ben's argument here is that, like, again, is the same as like Sunny V2. It's just that, like, you should hide it. Like, don't be true to yourself. Don't live with the mental clarity and happiness. Just hide it. And what? Be like Steven Crowder? He doesn't seem too happy with his life.
Take priority. This changes the dynamic of MrBeast's show. That this actually is a problem for MrBeast's show. So MrBeast was now caught between a rock and a hard place because what our woke society has now created is a rock and a hard place, not for Chris Tyson, whose choice this was in the first place. Whatever he chooses to do with his own family, he is free to do, although I am also free to morally criticize that thing. Because again, anybody who places their own priorities above those of their family is doing the wrong thing. We'll get to that momentarily. First, as you may have noticed, the economy is getting worse. This dude, Chris Tyson, who believes man, who pretends that he's a woman. By the way, this actually has real ramifications for the way that the show feels, the way the show looks. And
Bro, the amount of time that he cut talking about MrBeast, like MrBeast's YouTube page, is fucking insane. You should go to jail as a 39-year-old man. I'm not even kidding. Straight up. That's insane. There's something wrong with this motherfucker.
There's a recent video from MrBeast in which this dude, Chris Tyson, who believes that he is a woman, they're interacting and making all the interactions that used to be kind of normal are now extremely, extremely awkward. Okay, but MrBeast is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because if he says to Chris, listen, Chris, you're screwing up the dynamic of the show, right? We didn't bargain for this. You want to make your personal life decisions. You want to take some time. You want to figure out what you're all about. That's fine. But you don't get to enact your personal dramas on the set of my billion-dollar show. You don't really get to do that. And if you do that, I got to say that is not kind to me as a friend. He's not allowed to do that. Our society says that he must actually sacrifice his business for the sake of his supposed friend who's willing to put him in this position in the first place. Because if he doesn't put this guy on the air and destroy the dynamic of a show, or at least harm the dynamic of a show, then that means that he's a transphobe. But if he leaves the guy on the air, it completely messes up the dynamic of the show, and fewer people are going to watch it. And you can see that in the number of dislikes that have been racking up on MrBeast's YouTube page. So MrBeast had to make the choice, and so the choice that he chose is, of course, the wokest choice. He tweeted out, yeah, this is getting absurd. Chris isn't my nightmare. He's my bleeping friend, and things are fine. All this transphobia is starting to piss me off. Okay, that's MrBeast's choice, but you also have a choice, which is whether you actually wish to watch MrBeast videos, right? Or whether you want your kids to watch it. MrBeast stuff is very safe for kids, typically speaking. It's kind of silly stuff like, what is the difference between a $1 flight versus a $100 flight versus a $10,000 flight, right? It's that kind of stuff. Well, I do not feel as though my kids should be exposed to a man who believes that he is a woman on the YouTubes until they're of age to understand exactly what is going on. A lot of other parents are going to have that same exact.
Yeah. He's like, MrBeast, here's why you're in big trouble. Because I'm going to boycott you. That's what he's saying. There it is. After 11 minutes and like a fucking 4-minute ad break in between, he finally arrives at the main point of contention. He doesn't like that there is a trans person in the MrBeast universe. He does not care that they're friends. He does not care that this is a person who is now more comfortable and more, healthy. He's like, MrBeast, you're in big trouble. Why? Because I, Ben Shapiro, will initiate a boycott. I will stop my children from watching, and I will tell other people to also subtly not fucking watch. So as long as MrBeast keeps making the same fucking videos that he's doing, and Chris is involved in the videos in the same way that they were involved in prior, okay, it doesn't matter. Nothing is going to change. People are still going to watch him. He is an algo demon, okay? He knows what's good.